Hello guys, Chris here and welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing the Steam Deck in Hogwarts Legacy. As usual, I am connecting the Steam Deck to an external capture card so we don't lose any FPS while recording. Because of that, I am gonna be looking at my monitor, not down at the Steam Deck's display, but I will still be using the controls from the Steam Deck, and later on into the video, I will be testing the display of the Steam Deck itself to see how it looks over here with FSR and stuff like that. So first things first, I am using SteamOS, obviously, with this version right here. And, well, this is what most people will utilize. No betas or anything in this video. Now let's go down to the game info right here. It says that this game is Steam Deck verified, as you can see, and it should work absolutely fine with this hardware and controls and so on. So it's great to see this little check mark right there, but this game is really intensive, so I doubt a little bit that it will be a smooth experience. Let's find out, shall we? Let's go over the settings. First, I'm playing at 720p with FSR2 set to quality first, 10 FOV over here, plus 10.5, and on the advanced settings, I'm using the recommended settings for the Steam Deck, which apparently are the medium settings. I just ran the benchmark right here. It detected that the medium settings are adequate for this. Right, so it's a beautiful morning in Hogsmeade, my friends, and a very stuttery one. Oh boy, you can see it's not that smooth just turning the camera around, you know, but we are using unlocked FPS at the moment. As you can see, frame rate limit is set to off. I can't really set the hertz, the refresh rate in this display right here because, well, you can only do that in the Steam Deck's monitor. I will be doing that later and testing out like 50 hertz and 25 hertz, but for now we're stuck to 60 and 30 FPS locks. All right, and apparently on medium settings, just by walking around, I'm not even running fast, you know, like this, it's dropping a lot from 30 FPS, dude. Like, that is actually pretty bad. Okay? It is not smooth whatsoever. Oh, boy. And then, oh my god, it's actually dropping into the low 20s. I saw 23 right there. Why? This recommend medium settings. That's beyond me. What the hell? It should be low. Jesus. Now, granted, Hogsmeade, which is the area where we were, a little town, you know, is one of the most CPU-intensive areas in this entire game. So, of course, it will probably struggle since it's a 15-watt APU. It's got to share those 15 watts with the GPU and CPU at the same time. And, well, in these super intensive titles, it's actually really impressive that it manages to get around like 25-30 FPS with 15 watts, right? But it is not an ideal experience. Oh my god, the controls on the broom are just weird. And why is there so much motion blur? What? It is disabled. Maybe it's just FSR at 720p and my huge monitor making things a little bit distorted and blurry at times. Probably that, honestly. Anyways, flying the broom is really weird in this game. The controls are totally different from like flying helicopters and stuff like that in other games like GTA 5, for example, or Microsoft Flight Simulator and with planes. And this right here is one of the most intensive areas for a GPU to render that I've come across so far. And it's okay. It seems like the GPU can actually handle it okay-ish. But the CPU is a definite bottleneck in some scenarios. I'm just gonna disable FSR just to see how it looks now, okay? And how it feels. How much worse it is. Not too much worse. Yeah, now we're consistently in the low 20s, which is not ideal whatsoever. It was a little bit smoother for sure with FSR enabled. However, at 720p resolution, it actually looks a little bit better without FSR. At 1080p and up, this game is really soft at native res, and I think it looks better with FSR or DLSS enabled, but it's not the case at 720p. Thankfully, on a really small monitor, like the Steam Deck's display, it's gonna look fine with FSR, as I'll show you in just a little bit. But alright, we can't really enjoy the game very well at medium settings, right? So let's try it out on low. I'm gonna apply it and restart the game to make sure that it fully applies everything. We're getting 30s around here, and the frame time graph is a lot more stable than it was at medium settings. That's pretty good to see. Of course, we're not flying fast around this part, but yeah, that's a lot more manageable, I would say, and a lot smoother. Even if you're flying a little bit faster, well, now we're starting to see some bigger frame times. Frame time spikes, not frame times. Yeah, it's not good still. Okay, low settings, native resolution. It's definitely better than medium, even with FSR. It touches 40 FPS at times in this area, so that's pretty nice, actually. Of course, flying really fast will wreck everything. And down here, in a more GPU-bound scenario, it's not dropping, actually, you know, it's very interesting. GPUs that I have tested in this game, when I'm not CPU bound, they always drop in that little area a lot. And here it's not really dropping too much. It's actually well above 30 FPS most of the time in forest areas. Let's see this one over here. It's a little bit more dense of a forest area, but it should be less intensive. 33, 34, 31... 29, okay, it drops. 27 with a stutter. Overall, it's not too bad, though. I wonder if locking the FPS will actually get rid of those stutters. So let's try that out. Set it to 30 right here. Do not lock it with the built-in FPS cap on the game itself in the options menu, because that doesn't work very well. It just keeps the stuttering for some reason. All of the stutters will still be there, whereas if you use the Steam Deck's cap, it stays very smooth at 30, as you can see. That frame time graph is really smooth at the moment. And this is native 720p. That's really good. Also, I'm not using 800p, which is the Deck's display resolution, because, well, the capture card doesn't really handle it. Well, it does, but I can't seem to enable it in-game. I can enable it in the deck, actually, SteamOS, but not in games for some reason. Only in Spider-Man Remastered. That one worked for some reason. Yeah, it's weird. Ooh, massive stutter there. So sometimes there will be the odd stutter here and there, guys. But most of the time, this is actually a really smooth experience. Damn. And of course, we still have that FSR2 on quality to save the day. Maybe it will stay above 30 FPS or at 30 FPS more often without many stuttering issues. If we use FSR, Jesus, it's so hard to control this. All right, it's fine, we're good. Over here, yeah, not a problem. GPU is maxed out, but it's still getting 30 FPS. That's pretty nice. At 15 watts of power, dude. 30 FPS capped. Damn. Now that is really impressive. This is impressing me more than like Cyberpunk because of how much CPU bound this game is. Holy. Alright, so let's get out of the broom now and head to Hogsmeade a little bit. See the FPS right there. I'm gonna run instead of walking around. Okay, so here we still get CPU bound. It still drops into the mid-20s at times. Even when you cap it to 30 frames per second, it's still gonna be a stuttery experience. 23 right there, minimum so far. Yeah, I don't like that too much, guys. At least in like 90% of the map, it's gonna be decent. You know, it's only in Hogsmeade and Hogwarts where it's gonna drop into the 20s sometimes because of a CPU-bound scenario. And I don't think FSR2 will help it here in Hogsmeade because, again, it's CPU-bound and FSR2 only reduces resolution, so it reduces the load on the GPU, not the CPU. Let's try it out on quality, though. You don't need to restart the game to apply FSR, by the way. Only other settings, I think. Maybe you don't even need to restart to apply other settings, but I like to do it. And yeah, it's getting 30. Okay, we're not running fast, though. But it seems like it's a little bit more stable. Ah, I see what's happening here. If it is indeed more stable, and it seems like it is a lot more stable. Yeah, it hasn't dropped from 30 yet. It hasn't had a single stutter. That is really awesome. Okay, now it's going to hell again. But I see what's happening here. Since it doesn't need to allocate as much power for the GPU, because we're running a lower resolution, it can use that extra power on the CPU instead. So it makes things a little bit smoother. That's pretty good power management right there from Valve, guys. Although it doesn't fix all of the stuttering issues. But even on PC, this game still stutters to this day, alright? It's much better than it was on release, but yeah, it still stutters quite a bit. Still, overall, I think this is playable. Alright, especially with a 25 FPS lock, it should be a little bit better as well. But I gotta tell you this, guys. On an external display, I am not feeling much input lag, alright? But on the Steam Deck's display, there is a ton of input lag. I was trying this game at 25 FPS locked and 30 FPS locked as well on the Steam Deck's display. And there was quite a huge delay between my inputs and the movement of the camera and stuff like that. So it can be an issue at 30 FPS and lower on the Steam Deck. Alright, I think at like 40 FPS plus it's pretty good, the input lag, but at 30 and lower, not really. It's a bit of a shame. That's one of the first things that I noticed on the Steam Deck when I bought it. It's the input lag at lower frame rates. And I have not really been mentioning it too much here in today's video because I am playing on the external monitor and there is virtually no input lag, as I told you. But yeah, I was playing on a Razer Kishi V2 on my phone, like emulator games and stuff like that. And there is no input delay with that controller, you know, it connects via USB-C and it's instant. And when I bought the Steam Deck and started playing a few games here, I instantly noticed that input delay. It's not game-breaking in every game. I would say in first-person shooters is kind of a deal breaker, you know, unless you can get 60 FPS capped all of the time, then the input lag is alright. Anyways, enough input lag talk. This is really good. 30 FPS. That's... It's not moving too much. Again, it only drops in Hogsmeade. That's super impressive for a little handheld device like this one. Remember, this game came out this year and it was really intensive on PC. It is really intensive on PC. It has had some patches, but it's still very intensive to run. Yet it is running just fine. You could play the game like this. We're now in Hogwarts, which is another really CPU intensive area of this game. And it's not dropping. I'm actually really surprised it's not dropping right here. Probably because, again, it can utilize a bit more wattage on that CPU. It's using almost 9 watts at times on the CPU and less on the GPU because this is not as GPU intensive as Hogsmeade was. So it ends up stuttering a little bit less. It's taking a while to render this. Okay. I have installed the game on the Steam Deck's SSD, by the way. I'm using the 512GB version. And, okay, over here, yeah, this is another most intensive area that I found in this game. It stutters a lot still. I think we need a 25 FPS lock for these areas. Otherwise, it's just a stuttery mess. Alright, everyone. So I got my contraption going on right here so we can record the Steam Deck's monitor properly now. Yep, it's very uncomfortable, but here we go. Notice that the refresh rate is set to 50 Hz right now and the FPS limit to 25 frames per second. So we're locked to 25 FPS at this moment. Oh, it's almost dark time. Jesus. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna load the other save game again. Here we go. So on the Deck's monitor, I can tell you that using the same settings, low settings, with the 720p resolution, as well as FSR2 on quality, it actually looks pretty crispy. How I like it. It's a little bit noisy still whenever you turn your camera around and stuff, but it's definitely a lot better looking than the huge 42-inch monitor that I was playing it on, that's for sure. So it's definitely decent graphics here with quality FSR and low settings on the Deck's monitor and 720p resolution. And now with the 25 FPS lock, I am not seeing much stuttering at all. Actually, I don't think we've gotten a single stutter so far, which is really, really good. About that input lag though, look at this. See? There is quite a bit of it, which will probably hinder your performance in like fights and stuff like that. If you're trying to aim at something, it's gonna be really hard to do so with this input lag. But other than that, like if you're just flying around and stuff, it's gonna be fine with 25 FPS, which is quite all right. You know, it doesn't feel as bad as 25 FPS on a computer monitor and the mouse and keyboard and stuff, probably because of the controller or something. It's okay, it's manageable, and now it does not stutter whatsoever. If only the input lag wasn't this bad, it would have been great. But again, you can get used to it, and for someone who isn't used to playing games on a PC with fast response times and stuff like that and input lag, it might be okay to play like this, honestly. I don't know. I don't know if I would actually put up with this much input lag here, but that's just me. Let me know your opinions down below in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next one very soon, hopefully. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Love you all. Bye-bye.